right, here we are. We are live, McLeod.
Hello, everybody.
And Dawn.
And Dawn. See, I didn't get the and out. So there we go. All good. I got a lot going on my screen. Go ahead, Mac.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, welcome to another episode of Push to Talk. It is Saturday, the 1st of February. Yes, we made it out of January, guys.
Holy crap, hell. I didn't even realize January was over yesterday.
Yeah, January finally fucking finished. It has felt like a fucking year of a month.
That is for sure. Yeah. We even had snow in Florida and in the U.S. That's crazy. That's like crazy shit. Iguanas falling on your heads. Crazy.
Those goddamn iguanas. Anyway, yes, you have Eric and me here, as well as Dawn. Hey, Dawn.
Hello. I'll be in and out.
How's life treating you?
Good. I'm moving back into my house today.
Oh, so fantastic.
Grocery shopping, we're going to take them over and put them away, take my clothes upstairs that my mom had washed, and I'll be home.
Yeah, feel literally right at home.
Yeah.
For how long? How long's it been since you haven't been home? Like ages, right?
Like to actually stay, it's since December 11th, so a month and a half. Over a month and a half.
You're going to feel better once you're there.
I mean, I feel pretty good already, but I just need this swelling in this leg to go down. Yeah. But as a celebration for not dying and various other things, we're going on a cruise at the end of the month.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, I was like,
that should be great.
Well, it was really, really cold last week, and my parents were on vacation and they were in Florida, but it was cold down there too. So when they got back, when they were on the trip, I was like, hey, before I have to go back to work, I got all this time off, and this is a really good price. So, because I looked for something that was, as low as possible, but something that we'd want to do, and I found a good option.
That's cool.
So at first she was like, no, you can't afford it. And I was like, well, just think about it. And then when she gets back, she's like, the cruise does sound nice. Do you think your dad will want to do a cruise? I'm like, I don't think that'll be a problem, Mom.
No.
Is Dad the cruiser? He loves to cruise on the cruise?
We all love cruising. If you say, do you want to go on a cruise? My dad will say, when? Now? Yes? Tomorrow?
There you go.
So we just had to look at prices and everything, and I had already paid for flights for Vegas, but didn't get to use it, so I had credit out there. So I was like, I don't mind paying a couple extra dollars more for this. My flights ended up being $250, and so I have credit still left, so I didn't have to spend any extra money for that. And then my parents' flights, because my mom had points. She spent $11. So
$11.
Yep. They had a little bit of credit from some refunds, and then she used up points, and then So
that is a cheap fucking flight.
Yep. And then so we're doing a 5-day out of Miami to Cozumel and the private island that the cruise line owns.
Oh, nice.
If anyone wants to go, there's still rooms. And it's a good price. I am getting the drink package, so I'll get it on the short trips because it's not so bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I got. And then
you're gonna have a happy sort of when's that, like February, March time?
February 28th through the 5th.
March.
My birthday's March 4th, so I will be on the ship on my birthday.
Hey,
which would be nice.
That would be very nice.
So there's a bunch of specialty dining restaurants on there, and the booking comes with one free specialty dining. So we're gonna try to plan it for my birthday. If there's any openings, if not, not a big deal. But
fingers crossed. Good luck on getting that.
As somebody who's never been on a cruise, what is non-specialty dining?
The main dining rooms. So like they have 3 main dining rooms, on this ship, most of the ships. And, or no, they only have one main dining room on this ship. I've been on many cruises. But so you have it's the normal included meal. It's the sit down restaurant where there's usually kind of like time windows to go. Just depends on the cruise line. And they have a menu and they serve you with staff and everything, right? And then the specialty dining is for the upgraded menus with the nicer food in a smaller area. Usually it's specialized, like there's the steakhouse, the hibachi place, the Italian. Some of them are worth it, some of them are not. Kind of depends on the cruise and the place. Like we used to never do the specialty dining, but some of them throw it in for free to kind of like tempt you into going again. And then we did a cruise over my mom's birthday. So I was like, let's go to the nice steakhouse for her birthday. And we had a 22-ounce porterhouse. It was very good.
Nice.
Damn, that is a big fucking porterhouse.
And we were the only ones in the dining room that night. So, or in that restaurant that night, because you have to pay. So, well, you have to pay for it. So, on that cruise line, it wasn't. Their dining rooms are already pretty good, so it's not as big a deal to go to special. Like, not many people go to the specialties unless it's an event. So it was a Bourbon Street, like Louisiana style steakhouse. I was like, how? But okay. But they had a lot of like southern sides. And they were like, and they were like, okay, well, you get one entree, but like, we'll just bring you out every appetizer because they had nothing to do. So they brought us one of every appetizer, and it doesn't cost any extra. We all got, my dad and I both got porterhouses, and then they're like, we'll bring out as many desserts as you want. We're like, but they had probably the best bread pudding I've ever had. It was so good.
Yeah, I love bread pudding if it's done right.
Yep, it wasn't mushy. It was just with a nice caramel sauce. Oh, so but the thing that we're most looking forward to is the private island, because we went on it last year, like 2023. And they have some of the best snorkeling I've ever done just right there off the beach. Like we saw cool spiny lobsters, lionfish, crabs, lots of little wrasses and everything. And the water's just so perfect. And the beaches, the nice white sand, and it's just a good day.
Cool.
It's just
you gotta love that.
Yep.
Yeah, if you got good snorkeling,
Well, and what's nice is like, if you don't want to snorkel, you don't have to. And they have some jet skis on there. We're going to see if the excursion for the jet skis is booked up, but we're hoping that you can just rent the jet ski for a bit. We'll see.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. I like jet skis.
The jet skiing on the ocean, yeah. And then Cozumel, we're probably just going to go on a catamaran to go snorkeling somewhere.
Sounds good. Sounds fun.
Since I missed my Vegas trip, because I wasn't going to be able to have fun because I couldn't walk very well yet. I mean, I was walking better than I was before, but still struggling. Now I'm 2.5 weeks later, I'm doing a lot better than I was even then. So hopefully by the end of February, I'll be pretty good to go.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better for sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if anyone else wants to go on the cruise, there's rooms, and it's like $500 a person, basically.
That's not bad.
I mean, you can get a more expensive room too, but that's like what ours ended up being.
$500 for how long of a cruise?
5 nights.
That's pretty good.
Well, third and fourth passenger are free. So if you have 2 people in the room, it'll probably be maybe maybe $500-$600 a person, depending upon the room. But if you add in the third and fourth, it kind of helps spread out the cost even more if you're going to have more than that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As I said, the flights were cheap. So because we're going the week before spring break, so they're trying to fill these up.
So how does that work? Like, Is the room big enough for 4 people? They got like 4 beds or 4. What
It
are they
depends.
like?
So on Norwegian, it's 2 beds on the bottom that can be pushed together to make 1 queen, or you have 2 twins, whichever one however you want to do it. And
Okay.
then they have, for the insides and the ocean views, they have beds that come out of the ceiling that are just as comfortable as down there. So you have to, whoever's gonna, it's kind of like the idea is more for kids, but they can hold up to 500 something pounds. So
Okay.
I would only put the able-bodied adults up there because the ladders are not attached to the bed, so it can move. Like one time when I was trying to get down, the ladder just came out and I was like hanging on, like, and the desk is right behind me. So if I fall, I'm gonna hit my head on the desk. So after that, my mom's like, "You're sleeping down here." He goes. There was a problem is we were in sailing across the North Sea. So the waves at some point got, 20, 30 feet high. It was a bit of a bumpy ride, that one.
Oh yeah.
The Caribbean's usually nowhere near that bad. But yeah, we were out in the open ocean. So.
That's crazy.
Mhm. But, and cruises aren't for everybody, but I like it because all the food's there. Your hotel is moving for you. It's very relaxing. I love staring out at the ocean. They have an area on the back of the ship, at least it should be there based upon the deck plans, where it's adults only, and it's got 2 hot tubs, a little bar, like its own bar in that section, lots of, lounge chairs everywhere, and like a sprayer area if you want to stand and like cool off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the back of the ship on like deck 16, so it's really high up, and there's nothing else in front of you. You just get to watch the world go by,
Nice.
but you're out of the wind, so you're just, you know reading a book,
Read the
drinking
book out of the wind,
yep,
drinking a margarita.
just get a margarita or a daiquiri or something, and
Chill out.
yep. And then and there is a whiskey bar on this ship, so I will probably go there, check that out, and then it's just what you do is you go to the same bar every night in the evening, get to know the bartenders. They're usually cute, and then they'll start giving you the higher quality stuff for free because they know they're gonna get a tip.
There you go, baby.
Because there's
Always
always like
tip.
there's always like the basic amount, like the basic, mid-shelf bottle of, high 10 bourbon. And then, later they're like, I was like, I'll take some bourbon. Like, oh, do you want this Woodford Reserve? Which I know is not like the most amazing, but it's like, 3 times the price. I'm like, yes, please.
You want the
Thank
eagle. You want the eagle rare, baby.
Yes, Danny, thank you. Oh, he was so cute. And then you meet people. Like one evening, me and a lady just talked for like 2 hours, just about books and drinks and just what she was doing on the ship and
Nice.
yep.
A solid way of sitting of laying back, relaxing, and fucking enjoying not just one place, but like fucking all sorts of different places, right? So.
Yeah, it's nice when your hotel takes you to your destinations.
Absolutely. Even though I've never been on a cruise. The closest I've come to a cruise is watching an episode of The Love Boat back in the 70s or the 80s, whenever the hell that was.
All right. Well, Eric, if you ever feel inclined to get adventurous, let me know. More than happy to.
I will let you know.
We can even go together. Not in the same room, of course.
Oh, man. I thought it was like leave the wife at home, hang out with Dawn, meet the bartenders, drink some drinks.
What?
Thought we're going to meet some bartenders, drink some drinks.
Hell yeah. And they got a full spa on the boat, so if you want to do all that stuff, you can.
Because we can't take Mrs. Eric, because she's like, We call her 2-drink Mrs. Eric.
Oh, Mrs. Eric would probably fall off the side of the ship.
Yeah, we can't have that. That would be bad.
No.
That would be very bad.
We don't want to take her and lose her. That would be bad. So maybe we just leave her at home.
We'll just leave her in the room.
Leave her in the room. No drinks for you.
Or we'll
As long as
just
she doesn't have a balcony, because then otherwise she might, like, end up fucking going over anyway.
This would very truly be her. Okay, she would probably get a drink or something. She would sit in the adult area and she would read a book the entire day.
And it's the best thing.
That was what you do.
It's the best. That's what I do. I mean, like, I usually try to find different places on the ship to read a book at. But some of the cruise ships have, like, go-kart tracks on the top, little roller coasters, water slides. Some of them do movies on the pool deck at night. So it's just, there's a lot. They have a lot of amenities that are fun. But some people don't like being on the water. They're uncomfortable being surrounded by ocean. I understand. In that, I think you're nuts for not liking it, but it's not everybody's cup of tea.
Are you a pirate?
If I could be on a ship all the time, I probably would. Like, I would love to just have a boat.
Have a boat.
Yes.
Have to be a big boat. But yeah.
Yeah.
What was that? Growing up, my kids used to watch that show where all the kids were in high school on the boat all the time.
Sweet. I mean,
Sweet Life. Sweet Life. Yeah.
That they were in a hotel originally, I believe. I think later they did a cruise.
There you go. Hi, Tam. Come on.
So what are we supposed to be talking about today?
Did you not read the show notes? That, by the way, I'm trying to do shit with the show notes, and frickin' McLeod's in there, like, editing his ass off all morning, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, McLeod.
I was just putting some stuff together.
Just putting a few things. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, I don't want to be. I think when it comes to sort of, looking through CCP's kind of hour-long video, that it probably would be better instead of going second by second through the hour-long video, and then discussing things, that I do the sort of like the legwork for you guys out there and actually find the bits that at least I consider to be important, bring them out into little clips, and then we can kind of just go through them like that. Like, I think that's a bit better, and that's kind of what I did.
Awesome.
I may have gone a little bit overboard on it, but
Yeah, no. You're adding the commentary, like I'm saying.
Yeah, because otherwise it's just like, that's the clip. So what is it about? And I'd have to literally listen back to it and be like, okay, yeah, this was the conversation that I wanted to kind of bring out from the clip.
Did you just drop a new video?
I popped. It's something we could play at the end.
Oh.
It was pinged out, so I don't know if you did see it.
Oh, a Bomber's Bar one. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not that.
Not
yes.
Bar.
No, sorry.
We'll share the link at the end, but yeah.
I saw that was good. I'm not sure whether we're able to play it because it's obviously got the a copyrighted song on it, but we'll see. We'll see what we'll see.
We'll see.
I've been very excited since I didn't know if you'd seen it pinged out.
It's good though. I like it.
Even though it's Starscream posted.
I mean, yes, but no, but also yes. Yeah, Starscream just to some degree. But standard procedure, I guess.
He's not wrong, damn it.
But before that, I kind of need to address a little kind of thing, which is sort of like the other aspect of the title of the show, which is the hiatus, right? And essentially the issue is like we've been kind of on the same sort of style for the show for like quite a long time now. We've added a couple of little things, we've added the sort of like a bit of structure to it here and there. We've had the Dawn Raya rule of like, 20 minutes of not talking about Eve, which has almost ended up becoming an automatic thing that we do without even thinking about it. As I look at the clock and it's like 23 minutes past the hour, and never really thought to myself or never really said, Dawn, can you speak about something for 20 minutes or whatever, right? That isn't Eve related. So it's one of those things where it's like we've developed these sort of structures, but like the real kind of like big sort of development side of things for the show has really been like the look, right? So we've updated the look kind of fairly recently-ish, and it looks nice and sharp and all that kind of stuff, but like it's kind of the format of the show isn't really working for a lot of us at this point in time, and I think that's mainly down to like a lot of us sort of getting certain points of life, having things being quite hectic IRL, and schedules not like meeting up, that kind of thing. So we're kind of looking to see how we can change the show up, make it basically a little bit more just like workable for like more of us on the actual on the sort of staff side of things, right? But we also want to know kind of what you guys think, right? Like what you guys out in the audience think about like what's working for you, what you like, what you don't like, that kind of thing. So like I put together a survey. If you'd like to sort of, check out the survey, then fucking fantastic. If you really don't care, then that's fine. Like you can take part in the survey. It's literally only 10 questions. There's no like multiple choice shit. Like it's literally just like yes, no. I think there's like one rated out of 10, like sort of thing, but like it's literally, it'll take you like a minute, if not less, right? And obviously if it also on that form, it also has a link to our Discord as well. So if you want to get in, if you're not on our Discord and you want to get on our Discord, then definitely use that link to get on our Discord. And we just want to know what you think, because like we need to kind of remake the show in something that's a little bit more that's a little bit better for us and is more capable for us to sort of keep on going with it, right? But other than that,
I think your survey is better than any questions I've ever seen on an INN survey. I'm just going to point that out. All right.
I didn't want to make it a chore. Like I didn't want to be like, please submit an essay on X, Y, and Z. Like, no, fuck off. Like, or open up a survey and it's like one of 20 fucking pages. And you're like, fuck yourself. Like, no.
I just mean the
10 questions.
The quality of the questions is what I'm talking about. I thought. I'm serious.
Honestly, I really appreciate people to sort of like give us some feedback on the show, how they feel about how the show has been so far, and what they're looking for a show on.
And we're always
from us.
We're always happy to have more guests. So if you think that you have an opinion that,
I mean, we've had some guests. We've had some guests on before. Like obviously, we've had like a plethora of guests when we were doing the CSM kind of interviews and stuff. But like Drake's been on like a couple of shows as of late, and has been an absolute G. So I have to thank him for that. Like he's saved my ass a couple of times in terms of like quality sort of conversation and such things. So yeah.
Don't get me started, Starscream.
But yeah, we need to sort of bring a few people back into the fold in some way, shape, or form. Some people have like taken a bit of a leave, for various different reasons, right? Horrendous Sothrasil, for example. Yeah, it is what it is. Like, it is one of those sorts of things where it is a good indicator that we need to sort of change the show up so it's a little bit more sustainable for us, right? So, and that's the ultimate goal, right? It is for it to be sustainable and for you guys to enjoy it, and also for us to enjoy it as well. Because if we're not enjoying it, then it probably does come out in the content, right? And you guys probably don't enjoy it as much. So, if we're having fun, you guys are probably going to have fun. So that's the ideal.
All right.
Anyway,
what's our next topic, sir? We go to our first video.
Yeah, I mean,
so what is this video you're talking about?
So CCP released a video called the CCP's Directors Chat, right? And essentially the goal for it, I guess, was for CCP to sort of really give us an insight into what they are hoping to achieve in 2025. And so this is kind of a conversation around this. They released a roadmap as well, along with this, which is hilarious.
Holy crap. We'll never follow.
Which is hilarious because, like, it's almost like they fundamentally didn't understand what a roadmap is meant to be.
Should we go to the first 14-second?
Yeah, we'll come back to the roadmap because that is a kind of funny thing. But like, let's break down this video, right? So,
all right. We'll transition over this bad boy. All right, here we go. You ready?
I think, it's been really amazing to see how the Metanox has kind of how it's entered New Eden and how it's kind of changed up how players or capsuleers actually claim space and hold space. And
that's it.
I've just
Metanoxes.
So if you know anything about Metanoxes, you know that you don't drop a Metanox in order to claim sovereignty.
No, oh, really?
Amazingly enough, it's literally just like a moon mining. Like it's a moon mining platform. Like it's literally it's like the new version of the old moon mining.
We have
yeah.
And it's just I'm there going like, Burger, please, like you're meant to be showcasing.
I can't watch the video.
So Burger Burger basically just said like,
we have since we started.
He essentially mentioned Metanoxes with regards to claiming and holding sovereignty.
Okay.
And I'm just like, God damn it, dude! Like, and the other thing is like, I can understand that they may have got this a little bit screwed up, or they may have like misspoke in certain things, right? If it was live, right? If it was like we're doing here right now, right, where I'm speaking to the microphone literally right now at 31 minutes past the hour, and it's going to you guys at the same fucking time, right? I can understand if I misspeak, I can't go back and change that, but I can basically say, oh, I fucked up saying something there. What I meant to say is this, right? This was something they pre-recorded, right? Like they obviously broadcasted it live on their Twitch right? But they broadcasted it as a played recording, right? Because they also dropped it on YouTube as a video, and I could while they were playing it on Twitch, I could literally go to YouTube and fucking scrub all the way to the end, right? So they pre-recorded it. So if they'd fucked up saying something, or if they'd said something they really and somebody caught it and was like, "Do you really mean to say Metanoxes? Did you really mean to sort of associate Metanoxes with claiming and holding Sov?" Like, they could have not even paused the recording. They could have literally just carry on recording and go, oh, right, yeah, sorry, I was meant to fucking say that. Maybe I should, mention it a different way, right? And then the edits afterwards could literally just, cut that bit and then, delete that little bit and then change the camera and it would look fucking seamless. But they didn't.
They did not.
So it's either they're too dumb to realize that, they fucked up saying something and that they couldn't edit it out, or that everybody in the room, plus Burger, genuinely believes that Metanox is in some way aid to the claiming of sovereignty or maintenance of sovereignty, which they don't. They just don't. So it's just like, what the fuck? And you're the fucking, directors of the game. You're meant to know this shit.
You're meant to know.
You're meant to know this shit. And the fact that you don't know this shit degrades our,
confidence.
Our confidence and our hopes that you guys know what the fuck you're doing. So it's not off to a great start.
Yep. We go to clip number 2.
Why not? Let's go to clip number 2. It can only get better from here.
It can only get better from here. Now I'm gonna warn the audience. Hopefully I had the sound for the first one set up correctly. I'm hoping the second one goes. Yeah. But we'll see. We will see how that goes. Let's transition here. All right. And if it doesn't, I'll just replay it real quick. I'll be watching here.
We have, since we started with expansions, there's kind of been a through line. It's about organized goals, trying to help players organize themselves and like core projects and all that. That's kind of a big lane. And we keep investing in it. And we'll continue. We call that strategic investment. We're basically saying, this is something we think is core of the game. So we're going to invest and iterate. So we've basically gone through multiple iterations, multiple expansions on that topic.
All right. I'm not sure what the fuck he said.
So it's kind of based around the idea that
was like the biggest word salad ever.
It's essentially he's saying the one of the sort of goals that CCP has had over the past few sort of releases and past few expansions is essentially they want to develop the way that people organize each other inside the game. So they want to sort of upgrade and update that. And this is kind of those sorts of things like the core projects, the corp projects, that sort of thing. Like all of those sorts of stuff is essentially that sort of idea that they could probably do better in the game to allow players to be able to organize each other, right? And so that's been one of the core principles that they've basically been threading through in multiple releases and all that kind of stuff. And I imagine it probably will continue, and it does continue.
Okay. Should we go to the next clip? Is that what you want?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
We have another lane, which is basically a lot about sovereignty. How does sovereignty work? How do the rules of engagement work? How does dynamic security work? All of those things kind of are in that future of war. How do people fight over things and own things? So each expansion is chipping away at that. And now we're seeing an iteration further on that, and primarily on top of Equinox Off, because that a lot of work went into, a lot of thought went into making it really robust, really scalable, and really allowing people to express both what they want to fight for, the resources they want to, and ultimately customize their own space, their colors, what they stand for, really. So we will continue on that. We are going to iterate a lot on Equinox Off this year.
Okay. So we're getting new Sov.
So this is the thing. Like, he keeps talking about it almost like it's in the past tense, right? And I'm confused by that because he uses the term Equinox Sov, right?
Yeah.
Now they've had an Equinox expansion, right? And we've got new Equinox structures that we drop that upgrade our
it's
space.
also great to be able to.
Sorry about that.
We're still on Aegis Sov. Yeah, we might have a new combined kind of structure,
right?
but like the mechanics behind claiming and holding Sov, as far as I can understand, as far as I recall, like it's still Aegis Sov. Like we haven't had a fundamental shift in how Sov is claimed. It's still, as Scott Starstream says in chat, like it's still fuzzy Sov. Like this is the terminology that we use. When we're not trying to be proper and everything like that, we call it fuzzy Sov because it came around when CCP Fozzy was very much sort of ahead of the head, or at least the the public image or public face of the sovereignty changes, right? So we would call it Fozzy Sov, but like the proper term is Aegis Sov, right? But we're still using Aegis Sov, so for Ratati to be calling it, Equinox Sov is fucking weird. And it's not just him. Like, all of them utilize the term, Equinox Sov, which is weird.
Move away from Fozzy Sov identity because of the negativity. But the mechanics for actually changing Sov isn't different. Just, how to sustain Sov is different.
Yeah, it's upgrading space is kind of like what we're basically doing and sustaining it as such. But like, I wonder whether one of the things that they're actually going to be doing over this year is actually fundamentally changing how sovereignty is going to be, working. Because obviously they're 6 months a year ahead in terms of their thinking with how the game is like supposed to be, developed. Mm-hmm. So maybe in their head they're thinking like, oh, it's Equinox Sov is present tense or past tense, right? Because in their head it's already been released because they've been playing around with it on their their kind of development servers or something like that, right? I don't know. This is pure guesswork. This is pure just speculation on our part, right? So I wonder whether one of the things that we're going to get is a shake up in terms of how sovereignty works and the mechanics behind it. But it could very well just be that they're talking about Aegis Sov, but utilizing the term Equinox Sov because Metanoxes somehow have some aspect or some way of play some part in gaining and maintaining Sov somehow.
Maybe. So, who knows?
It's like if Metanoxes affect Sov, then fuck it. We might as well call Aegis Sov, Equinox Sov, right?
Yep.
Maybe it's going to affect it. Ooh.
I don't know, maybe.
There was a slip of the tongue there.
So Sov is now by who has the most Metanoxes in each system.
I mean, we're back to 2000, like 2008, 2010?
I made that up, by the way, folks. Don't take that hard.
If that's the case, then that will be basically back to the days when you would basically you'd pause every single moon, right? Yeah, back to moon.
That's right. Yeah, moon's up. The
maybe.
I don't know. Making this shit up as we go. So you want to go to the next one? By the way, before we go, I'm going to show, because for some of the people in the audience may not know who's on the couch and all that stuff, right? So can you go, left to right, who's there? I'm gonna do a quick transition. right?
Oh yeah. So, okay, so obviously from left to right we have CCP Rotati, right? Sorry, on the right. Okay, let's go from right to left. On the right,
Okay.
furthest right, we have CCP Burger. Okay. The one who seems to think that Medanoxes are assist in capturing sovereignty in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, can't make this shit up. Right, and then the middle guy in the middle, big fucking beard, bald head. That is CCP Okami. He is fairly new to CCP. I say fairly new because he's literally sat next to, CCP Burger and CCP Rotati have been there for fucking donkey's years, right? He seems to be the more competent of the three, which is yeah. I like him more than Rotati and Burger, and that's unfortunate. But yeah. And then obviously furthest left is Rotati. Everybody knows Rotati. He goes by other names. We're not going to mention those particular names. Okay. I mean, if Dirk jumps into the chat into the show, I perfectly fine for him to spout out all of the different names that CCP Rotati has. But I'm not going to mention it, just out of, I don't know, being civil.
Okay, we're good. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. By the way, so we'll have some Erik commentary on this. This looks like the most freaking uncomfortable couch under the sun, right? Because the back of the couch goes like halfway up your back. Okay.
Yes.
Really. I mean, I was just sitting there going, "Holy shit! Who wants to sit on that?" And by the way, why is there a teddy bear? Why is there a teddy bear? All right. Fucking teddy bear. I don't understand. What were they doing with that teddy bear? I don't know.
It was part of.
Right. Yeah. And then also the chair. Holy crap! Seriously. Oh my god. All right. CCP, get some something that's not from IKEA or something. Okay. I don't know.
IKEA has much better things than that.
Yeah.
IKEA
you know what? You're right.
Stuff.
You're right. I don't know. I don't know what the hell. I mean, I don't know. All right, we're gonna play. This is a little longer. This is our longest yet. 33 seconds.
It's the longest one.
Oh, it's also great to be able to kind of go back a year or so and take a look at the feature set and how the community has actually taken these tools and how they've made these tools their own in a way. And even if we say that we're iterating on and building on foundation we've already laid, there's plenty of opportunity for innovation in there, and there's plenty of opportunity for new. It's not just tweaking numbers or changing the shade of green that we're using for something, but there's a lot of opportunity to build new.
Okay, what were you going for in that one? I'm not sure. He talks about colors and he's got like all these stupid colors on his shirt, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
So it's a positive one. Like it's a positive video. It's a positive clip as such. From a CCP standpoint, because we've always been kind of a bit concerned with like the fact that all that they want to do is just tweak things a little bit, and not actually get into doing some actual development. Actually create new things. Actually, sort of create something interesting and new. But Burger's there, literally
There's
saying
a lot of investment in.
They are open. They are definitely totally open to not just doing little tweaks, not just changing the little color, the green color, etc., but actually going in and creating something new and innovative, and like something that they can add to the game that enriches the game, right? So but it's a positive. Like I'm glad that they are openly saying that they are open to more expansive development work. Just nice.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you want to go to the next one.
I'm good, man. Yeah, we can go.
Oh, you're good. Good. All right.
Yeah. fairly short one.
There's been a lot of investment in. Also, we're learning how to use Quasar and this tech also behind the scenes, and a lot of it is also about like, okay, we did this last year, and it's almost like we need to kind of update it a little bit because we're on cutting edge of how we work with this. A lot of it is also learning about just adding content to it, like the contribution methods, for example. It sounds trivial to say like, okay, we added, like, why can't we just add more of these contribution methods? It's because of learning how to just work with them. But we're also trying to facilitate game designers to be able to like figure out the code where we can just like add 10, 20 instead of 1 or 2 a year. So we're also trying to unlock that design power. And we're like making good progress. There's a kind of, there's a lot of momentum in this.
Yeah.
All right.
So this does sound a bit word salady, and for the best will of the world, like Rotati kind of does make a bit of a dog's breakfast, kind of like explaining it. And to be fair, it's a bit difficult to explain. But he's mentioning, and he's talking about a system that CCP have been slowly introducing and slowly kind of plugging into the rest of EVE. This system that he refers to called Quasar, right?
Okay.
You might not know of what I'm talking about when I say Quasar. I'm fairly certain most people probably in the chat and watching this afterwards, like, will probably not know what Quasar is. But Quasar is essentially the current version and more expanded version of a bunch of technology that CCP have been kind of doing to sort of help the back end of the game cope with all of our shit, essentially, right? What I mean by that is the first version of what Quasar now is something that allowed time dilation to actually be a thing in the game. Okay.
All right.
One of the issues that, you know, CCP has always had with the way that the game has been kind of was initially designed and developed on Python is because you have, you know, a single kind of a single thread for the game's engine, for the sort of like simulation. But it wasn't just the simulation, it was basically essentially everything, right? And so everything had to go through this pipeline that basically had a very linear sort of thing of like, you have to stack, you can't stack these things and have these things be run in parallel. They had to be done in series, right? And this has always caused slowdown for us when it comes to sort of fighting, right? And doing all sorts of different things, especially when it comes to doing things in larger numbers. Because when you're trying to deal with communicating what's happening in the game to more and more people, it's something that isn't linear, right? To describe this to you, it's basically like if there's just two people, right? If just without sort of thinking of like, you know, other things aside from those two people, right? If you have two entities in a area of space and you move one of them, right? Then all that needs to happen is there needs to be a sort of a message sent to the other one saying that, that entity has moved from there to there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly easily doable, right? But then when you add two, then you need to, obviously send two, but you need to also, you've got three things there that need to be told where things are, right? And so when one thing moves, it's not just one message that gets sent, it's two messages that get sent, right? And so when you start to sort of increase these numbers, those numbers aren't linear. They start to become exponential in terms of the amount of messages, the amount of information that needs to be passed to everything that's there about movements of things, about things changing states, about things leaving, things coming, things firing on something else, right? That kind of stuff. So you get this sort of situation where, the amount of messages trends upwards almost to infinity, technically, like eventually, obviously. But the amount of messages, it isn't a linear thing. And so what happens is when Eve's kind of single pipeline can't handle it, CCP created this thing with Carbon IO, which was like this back end system that they had, where they could slow down the simulation so that we didn't overload the server with shitloads of stuff all the time, and so that the server could actually like deal with it and cope with the amount of messages that need to be sent, right?
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And that's basically time dilation. And the reason why it's like a single pipeline is because the idea is certain things have to be run in series, otherwise things kind of fuck up, right? You can't have like situations happen where out of order. Like there's certain things that happen in Eve that need to happen in order. If they become out of order because things are quicker to be processed than other things, then it starts to happen that doesn't make sense, right? For example, if you have a ship jump in, right? This is an example, right? If you have a Sino lit and a ship jumps in, right? If that ship jumps in, locks something, and fires a doomsday, right? You kind of want, as a player playing this game, to be able to see that ship jump in first before it fires a doomsday, or even better, see that ship jump in, see that ship starting to target lock you, and then fire a doomsday. What would be really fucking shitty would be if the doomsday kind of mechanics and the doomsday sort of calculations was the easiest thing to do for the server of all of those things. And so that gets prioritized and done first, right? So, out of nowhere, out of the blue, you're doing things, someone like a Sino, that's fair enough, nothing's come through it. All of a sudden, you're dead.
All of a sudden, you're dead.
All of a sudden, you're dead, right?
If we were only
you have no idea why.
If we were only using NVIDIA H200 chips, this would not be an issue.
I don't know. It is, but it isn't. It is, but it isn't. It's an issue because it's an issue because we're on Python still. But but that's the thing. Like certain things have to happen in certain orders, and that's kind of one of the things that Python was kind of built to sort of maintain is that sort of that sequence of events, right? And sometimes you can break things away from those sequence of events because they don't have any play or any kind of reason to be associated with those events, right? And this is what kind of CCP have been slowly doing with various different things on the back end of Eve, right? They've been taking things away.
It's a big challenge, right? From a technology perspective. I mean,
it is.
There are other companies that have developed similar things for non-similar actions, right? And they've spent tens of millions of dollars to do that, right? Obviously, and it's very specialized in what it does, right? And very specialized networks and equipment and all kinds of crazy shit. So for a gaming company like CCP to do that, that'd be really, really challenging. And by the way, the two things are not the same I'm speaking of, but CCP, well, let's put it this way, EVE Online, I believe, is completely unique in this need, right? We don't really have, and this is why, you only have 32 people on a game server playing the same game at a time, right? Because it's just all we can take. right? From a capacity of a thread perspective and the speed of processing through the core, right? Internally, right? I mean, essentially, we've come to the point where we can really deal with most of the memory requirements, right? And technically, we have technology that is out there that is very commonly used that can let a node, a machine, whatever you want to call it, to directly access memory on another machine or node, right? It's kind of funky how all that stuff happens. We can do that.
Yeah.
Processing power and keeping that aligned and in order is a far greater challenge, right?
It is probably one of the most fundamental challenges, especially when it comes to sort of like games, when you know your experience is something that you kind of know and you expect certain things to happen in order, right? And if they don't happen in order, then all of a sudden we end up shouting, going, "What the fuck? You know, this game is broken," etc., right? Whereas in actual fact, all that's happened is someone didn't clock that, you know, certain things had to be set into a specific order before they're actually calculated and, you know, processed, right? So so what CCP has basically been doing with what is Quasar now is essentially taking things that used to be run on the single process, you know, on in Python on the back end of the game on the server, right? Taking things off of that and basically going, this doesn't require there's no need for this to be specifically kind of in order with everything else, right? And so they're basically like pulling that away from the process and kind of starting to try and parallelize the process, basically have multiple different lines of kind of processing to deal with all sorts of information that we kind of need as a player. This is why we now have larger fights than we did, you know, back in the day. You know, this is why, you know, we very rarely have black screens these days when we jump into fights and such things. You know, all of these various different things. This is why, you know, even though we still push the limits, and even though we still, you know, push the player count in large fights, yeah, we always do. It's one of those sort of things that we, as a community, will always do. You know, if there's the ability for us to put more people into a fight, we'll try to do that as best as we can, because we know that, you know, from a gameplay perspective, it gives us an advantage. And that's just how it is. But this stuff has been this stuff has been kind of like percolating in the back of you know of how Eve does its thing, you know, for a long period of time. You know, since time dilation came into the game, essentially. You know, we had time dilation. CCP kind of started doing their stackless Python thing. They started doing experiments with the Eve Aether Wars. You remember that? Like when we were trying to, when CCP were trying to get more performance out of it by using different like software and hardware techniques and stuff. And they kind of wanted to experiment with it and do some public tests and stuff. You know, that sort of stuff. Obviously, some of it worked, some of it didn't. We didn't really hear too much about like the results of it as such, which I thought was, you know, quite a shame. But you know, CCP kind of put together this idea of a message bus, which doesn't require anything to go to the Eve servers, but an actual goes straight to the client, right?
Yeah, and
this. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, and Net3S, you know, he mentions microservices, Kubernetes, Docker, and all that stuff. And from my understanding, and it could be wrong, so correct me, right? I still think they're a traditional multi-node VMware type arrangement, right?
Yeah, I think they still are. Yeah.
The only thing that might be that we're aware of, or at least that I'm aware of, that they peeled off was the chat, right? And they farmed that out to AWS, and that might be using some sort of microservices over on AWS. I'm not completely sure. And by the way, with Broadcom's takeover of VMware, right, their contract is probably set to substantially increasing costs, so they probably they're probably looking to get off VMware.
Yeah.
Almost everybody is, right? They're not cloud native NAT3 for sure.
No.
They are very much in their own data center, in their own infrastructure. Is my understanding.
So
yeah,
this quick like.
I'm off
What's
to
up?
my meeting, guys. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right,
right.
we'll see you. Have a great day and
Bye.
weekend.
See you, Don. So there was a dev blog about this, like back in 2021, that I swear to God I have never seen, and I don't understand how I never saw this as such. But like my recollection of this is like zero. I literally came across it sort of doing this sort of stuff to this week, as it were. I'll put it up in chat so that other people can find it. But it's literally introducing Quasar. So like, you know, it is something that came about in 2021, late 2021 as such, but like still in 2021, right? And they're talking about Quasar. It's very, very in depth in terms of like, you know, a very geeks kind of dev blog as such, right? And it talks very much about what Quasar is, how it's kind of developed, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's kind of where I'm getting a bunch of what I'm talking about right now. So you guys can kind of study it at your leisure, as it were. But essentially, one of the best kind of sort of aspects of this that I can use as a sort of as a demonstrator, I guess, is this image here. I don't know if you want to pull that up real quick.
We aren't having our meeting yet, so I got some more time.
Oh, nice. Welcome back.
How did I do that? Okay.
Oh, have I thrown a spanner in the works?
You did. Do
you want it in Discord instead?
No.
Okay.
Let me rearrange what I am doing.
Sorry about this, guys. I've gone off the I've departed the what was.
And by the way, I want to make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
It'll be a little fuzzier, but I think it'll be better for.
It's all right. It's all right.
Nope. Because they get to see, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're gonna pull that over. All right, let's go.
Yeah, nice.
And by the way, when we look at and by the way, there's lots of stuff to peel away here in Nat3's comments, right? So as we look at this right now, remember the primary, the TQ databases, right, are all SQL Server as far as we know still, right? They are using replication to multiple data centers, so traditional SQL Server replication that's out there, which, by the way, is a pain in the ass if anybody's done it. But yes, and by the way, I probably would use something very different for the transaction load that they do in here. But yes, I have.
Yeah.
I have my database thoughts, but I keep myself. Go ahead, explain your little thing here.
So you got like two representation of like the Eve server kind of stack kind of thing going on. Like there's two representations. One, without the public gateway stuff, and one with the public gateway stuff, right? The one without the public gateway stuff is kind of what it is without kind of, well, there's Quasar in it, but like not the most recent sort of stuff. But like essentially what you have is you have the sort of like you see the flow basically towards the Eve desktop client, right? Mm-hmm. And the real kind of bottleneck with that is the Eve server. Like there's this bit on Tranquility in the middle with the Eve server, right? And that's where it kind of gets like everything basically gets into this what is termed a GIL, which is a global interpreter lock, which is essentially, what Python is kind of built in with this whole single thread.
Yeah, and the Eve server is really an ESXi cluster.
Yeah, and so everything gets prioritized, and everything gets like prioritized, and everything gets like sewed into this single kind of thread as such in order to be processed. And then once that's done, then it gets ported over to Carbon IO through the Eve proxy, and then to the desktop client, right? That's kind of how that works. What they're doing with Quasar now is they had that message bus that was kind of working and sort of, so not everything was going like single pipeline into the Eve server, but like there's multiple pipelines going into the Eve server. But now what they've done is they've made these public gateways using a new protocol, right? And so that doesn't need to be processed on the Eve server. That can literally just go straight to the desktop client.
Right.
So the idea is that you're taking a lot of load off the Eve server for things that don't really need to be done, in sequence, because they don't really require that sort of things to be in sequence in order to be processed and then sent to the players. Certain things that are like maybe not like absolute necessity to be done in order, but like still would be nice if they're done fairly promptly, but don't have the this needs to happen, then that needs to happen, then that needs to happen kind of thing, right? So I'm guessing here, because they never really kind of gave any sort of examples, but I'm guessing sort of things like, contracts, contract acceptance stuff, Eve mail, sort of updates to, like expirations of bookmarks, that kind of thing. I was gonna say just bookmarks in general, but like there's times where you kind of want to put a bookmark and you want people to sort of be able to use that bookmark fairly promptly. Obviously, there's a bit of there's a bit of a sort of a buffer in terms of time for people to actually do that, but there is a bit of a timely situation for that, right? But things like that, right? Things that don't require like an absolute sort of necessity for some things to happen before for it to actually be processed and stuff. So
when we're looking at this diagram, right? Is this something you did, or is this from CCP?
Oh no, this is from CCP.
Okay, yeah.
This is from the Quasar like dev blog that they released in 2021.
Gotcha.
So getting back to like what was said in the clip, right? Rotati was basically talking about how they want to speed up the adding of contributions to Quasar from 1 or 2 things to like 10 or 20, right? When I first heard that, I was like, that doesn't make any kind of sense. Like, surely you can just like, in the input box, add more stuff to it and that kind of thing. But like what they're talking about contributions is how many different things that they want Quasar and this sort of new method to sort of, sort of deliver to the Eve client before going, without going through the Eve server. Like how many contributions to the Eve client that they can do.
Yeah, well,
so they want to speed that up. They want to increase that amount because they can parallelize that a lot.
Right, and so one of the challenges of that, right, is new feature function. That's easy.
Yeah.
Air quote.
New feature function.
Okay. Air quote. Easy, right? Stuff that's already intertwined, air quote, easy. Okay, because when technologists say, "Oh, that's easy," business folks. Well, no. Business folks think, business folks think you can do that in 10 minutes, right? Where technologists say that's easy.
And the devs are like, oh my god, how the fuck am I going to do that? Yeah.
No, it means hey, okay, it's not tied to anything. It's something that I can do new. I don't impact other things if I play with it, right?
Yeah, whereas it's not time sensitive. If
stuff that's feature function within core code, right, over on the E server, that's hard because you gotta pull that out and understand the dependencies, right?
Exactly, and
that's what makes it take longer, right?
And you have to make sure that, like, if you're, from what Rotati says, if you're adding these contributions to Quasar that don't go through the Eve server, like, you have to make sure that there are no dependencies there, so that when things get processed, you don't end up in that situation like we said before, where you get doomsdayed before the Titan doesn't even appear, right? Like,
right.
You don't want that situation to occur.
Right. It's not just dependencies on the physical code; it's dependencies on the event having happened that you won't see in the code necessarily, right?
That's exactly it, right? Yeah, you want event A to occur, then event B, and then event C, right? Like, and if you have something that doesn't require event A to happen before you go to event B, then you can go through Quasar and through these new gateways, and they can parallelize that and be able to ship that out like really, really fast. That would be really performant, right? But there's what Rotati is basically saying is they're still in the infancy of like trying to figure out how quick that they can add these new things.
Yeah, and
so they want to they want to be able to speed that up so they can, instead of just like looking at 1 or 2 things a year to add to to the gateway and add to Quasar, that they can add like 10 or 20 things.
Yeah, and as time goes on, that will increase, right? I mean, think about it, folks, right? I mean, you think about it in terms of, for those who have actually experienced the mainframe, the IBM mainframe, right? ZOS stuff, right? There are, there's old code that is decades old, and modern code development practices just were not applied back then. And by the way, when you're a startup, right, you don't necessarily modularize your code perfectly or at all, right? MVS. So yeah, well, by the way, I'll say something originally in a minute, but off topic. But yes, AS400, all that good shit, right? Anyway, modern programming modularization, didn't happen 20 years ago. And when you're a startup just trying to crank shit out, right, you do it, right? Think of the pause code, how long we had to deal with all that shit, right? And so, and just on, since everybody's throwing all the IBM shit up there, right? And so I actually ran across one of those most popular operating systems by percent timeline time-lapse things, right? And one of the things that I thought was hilarious was how long VMS hung around, popped off, came back into the scene years later, like as one of the top 9 or whatever things. I'm sitting there going, holy crap, VMS. Wow, that's crazy shit. Anyway, go on. Let's continue with our Eve stuff. That was my tangent of the day.
Yeah, no, that's all right. But essentially the little clip was essentially, CCP talking, or Rotati talking about Quasar and kind of like where they are with Quasar at this point in time. And it's one of those ones that I think just from a casual listening, you don't quite understand where he's coming from, and so it can literally just go straight over your head, as it were. But yeah, it's like he doesn't really describe it too well in terms of what he means by like the adding of contributions to it. But like, yeah, it's something that they've been working on for a fair number of years at this point in time. And I hope it kind of continues. I hope it goes from strength to strength, because it's like this slow building, the parallelization of EVE Online's kind of like, server architecture, right? Eventually, we will get to the point where CCP will have to bite the bullet and figure out how to actually, take the actual simulation and fork it into parallelization properly, and then figure out how to, make sure that things happen in particular orders so that people don't freak out and things don't happen out of order and all that jazz. So eventually they will have to bite the bullet for that. But like, yeah, at this point they're still doing efficiencies. But yeah.
All right.
We can go on to the next one.
The next one. I think I've got it queued up. Let me know if I've got it.
It'll be the
Nat, no, that's tough.
Giving players
that's a tough one. Yeah. All right. switching over.
And this is ultimately like, I mean, we've been talking about this for years now. We're always trying to give more controls to capsuleers. Like we want to give, you know, the power to the player and allow them to, you know, if it's customizing, you know, the visuals of their space or their ship or their structure, or, you know, build content for their members, or, you know, set an agenda for what, you know, whatever you want to do. So these are all kind of steps in that direction. Like, how can we give you more control?
All right. This one made my head explode, by the way.
It's Burger kind of. So player agency, right? Like we've talked about player agency before, and you know, we're all fans of player agency because player agency basically means that we're in control of our ultimate ends when it comes to, you know, the game as such, when it comes to our play in the game, right? You know, nobody ultimately wants to pay money for a game where you start up and it literally just dice rolls for you and kills you or doesn't kill you, right? Like, like there's nothing in that for anybody, right? You can kind of say that some of these sort of like, there are some games out there, sort of Chinese sort of mobile games that play the game for you that kind of maybe sort of similar to that, but there's reasons for those sorts of things. But you know, on the whole, we as players, we like to have agency over our characters and over what we do, right? The issue with what Burger kind of says is that he's mentioning player choice, right? Over all sorts of things that ultimately mean fucking nothing. It's just dumb. It's like, oh yeah, we want to give players the choice of, you know, whether their ship is green or blue, or whether it has these little spangly bits, or, you know.
You know what? I want my. You know what? I want. This is what I want. Okay. People always say they want. You know, I want my bunny ears and all that shit, right? And for their thing. I want a thing. I don't know if you've seen this. Like, so they have it on trucks. Okay, on the tow hitch on the back of the trucks, right?
Oh no.
Okay, it's a giant ball sack. That is exactly what we need. That should be standard Goon issue. Okay, the ship ball sack. Right? Everybody wants that.
You cannot be more American than you are right now.
I mean, in chat, who wants that? That is a feature that I would actually pay for. I would pay real money to CCP to get that because it'd be funny as shit. And by the way, when you're in warp, it like, you know, swings backward a little bit. You know, it just doesn't hang there. You know, it's got to, you know, and when you stop, it wiggles around. We need this. We need this feature. No, we don't want Tam Tam. You know, Tam Tam. You want this.
I just like to say that completely unrelated to what we were talking about, right? Nat, your comment about nerfing Supercat battles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason the fucking auto mod went, no, I'm going to have to hold that back until you accept this or deny this. And the reason why is because you used the term support. What the fuck? Who the fuck thought that like support should be a block term? I have no fucking clue. But yeah, I saw that and I was just like, no, I'm accepting this because that's just fucking stupid.
I'm upset that, you know, I mean, PDP 11's got more play than the ship ball sack. I'm upset. I am.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right.
Anyway, the conversation, like from that point, kind of just talks about player-made corpse projects and stuff, and how CCP wants to expand it to allow non-affiliated players to pitch into corp projects and stuff like that, and org projects and stuff. They also sort of talk about the potential drifter activity in the Empire areas as well, potentially increasing.
Okay.
There was actually recent stuff happening in EU that's all about that as well. So
Drifters. You said drifter. If you say drifter 3 times, drifter, that should make Dirk fucking magically appear. But he doesn't.
Going.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
No, because it's in high sec and low sec, not in null sec. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a little clip from CCP Okami coming up.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, hold on. I gotta click. I got a lot of buttons. You made me click a lot of buttons today. I'm not sure.
You're being an active, streamer today rather than a passive one.
Healthy projection.
It's normal.
Let me start that over because we were talking. Okay, you guys ready? All right, here we go.
I think for us, healthy projection is really about looking at player mobility, capsular mobility in the game as a whole. And saying there's a concept of local traversal, so I can travel within my owned solve space, do the work, do the regular things I like to do. But when it comes to bigger battles and response times, that sort of feeling of a superhighway where I can just get to the other side of the galaxy, right now feels it's a little bit too easy to do that. It's too easy to be responsive, and so that really creates a sense of too high risk for people to want to mobilize and other things. So we really want to look at that sort of long range projection and sort of make the healthier sort of shorter term home space traversal still feel accessible to people. So that I think that's what we're working towards in terms of healthy projection.
All right, help me peel back that onion, because that sounds like more of what we hated in the last time they did some shit with this.
Yeah, so this is basically CCP kind of looking at the tribulations of player projection, right? And specifically, they're talking about null-sec player projection, like organization projection. We've had a bit of a nerf in terms of the amount of projection that we've been able to sort of that I guess maybe not the amount, but the sheer scale of projection that we have had available to us because of the Equinox updates and that kind of thing. It very much curtailed the amount of jump bridges that everybody had in their own space, right? But CCP still seems to think that the projection across the map, like long range projection, is still an issue. Right. And I think maybe that's down to the fact that, we have, as people who are in null-sec space, we have friends typically, and those friends see that it's beneficial for each other to sort of allow each other to use our jump bridge networks to be able to traverse and back each other up. Amazingly enough. It kind of sounds like CCP wants to get rid of that. So chances are, I'm going to sort of assume what they're saying there is that, the what is it, the ability for us for you to be able to utilize your blue list, your ally members jump bridge networks are probably going to go.
Is it that, or if I put a keep star in your space, right, and just keep a bunch of ships there because you're my buddy, I don't need your jump bridge network as much. I can.
No, that's true.
Right, I can just clone over, right, and be there and ready to fight, right. I think it's bigger than just that. I think I don't know.
No, that's not something that they want to curtail. They want to curtail, if I'm sort of a member of Goonswarm, they want to basically curtail the potential utilization of, say, TNT jump bridges. So if TNT had jump bridges that were next to Goonswarm space, right? it would be a case of CCP would potentially. I'm not saying that this is exactly what they're going to be doing, but it very much sounds like what they want to do. It would be a case of once you get into TNT space, Goon Swarm ships wouldn't be able to use TNT jump bridges to get further into towards the area that you guys need to get to in order to, partake in a big fight, for example.
Yeah, I mean, certainly.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use the Imperium and Init sort of stuff because because Seema mentions it like you could, but Darkshine's left.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. Force projection is one of those iffy topics with me, right? Because force projection allows big fights. Non-force projection really limits those fights, right? And limits your ability to do that. I don't know.
It does limit those fights, but then again, if you're a very strong kind of group, a very strong group like Goonswarm, for example, right? You probably have a lot of people. You have a lot of Titans. There it's entirely possible that you could park Titans on jump bridge routes in your allied space, and instead of taking jump bridges, you just Titan chain. It might take you a little longer because of cooldowns and stuff, but you're still going to be able to get there, and you're still going to be able to sort of do that route without having to deal with things like things like gate camps and all that kind of jazz, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people bubbling the living crap out of your route. So there's options, and as you said previously as well, you can always just have caches of ships in areas on the front line ready for you to just death clone two of them, jump in a ship,
I mean, it
and
would have
get
to
into
be
the fight.
Yeah, it would have to be a lot of changes they would have to do to really. I don't know. When they talk about limiting stuff like that, I always harken back to, hey, it took 30 days to cool down if you did certain jump routes, right? And nobody actually did that math to figure that out, right? Are we going to go back to something stupid like that, right?
I hope not. But that was the dumbest kind of thing when we had cooldowns of almost a month, because that was literally a call. That was literally the game basically saying, fucking, maybe it's time to stop posting. Sit back and don't play the game for 30 days. Which is just the worst. That's the worst thing that you can do as a developer of a game, is to basically say to the players of your game, we request that you don't play the game for 30 days. Thank you very much.
I know.
It's dumb. But the idea of having the idea of having caches of ships in different areas for deployments or for rapid kind of rapid not rapid deployment, but rapid sort of reinforcement of allies. It's something that's been done for ages as well. I remember in probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago in it, we had we had a fucking diagram of all of our listing all of our different doctrines, and then 5 or 6 fucking columns of all of our different deployment locations and all of the different doctrines that should be in these deployment locations. We had 6 different deployment locations at one, all active at the same time. We had to have, different doctrines in different places. So the call would come out that basically we needed to death clone to this place and go pick up a ship and then, be in fleet.
And as Ogama Ito says, right? I mean, do they actually in this talk, right, at any time, actually say this is a problem, so we need to work on player force projection, right? Or are they just kind of talking in generalization of, hey, force projection is an issue still, but we want to somehow make it easier to use space that you have SOV in already, right?
It's more generalizations. They're very much along the lines of, they want you to be able to still have the ease of moving about your space with jump bridges and all that jazz. But they don't want like mass amounts of force projection, across the map kind of thing. Which, yeah, mass amounts of force projection using jump bridges, yeah, probably not the best thing. That does push down the sort of local fights, because then you can't really have a local fight. You end up having a regional fight because, everybody gets to the local fight super fast. And then when tie-dye hits in your local or your regional skirmish and it becomes a global skirmish, then, then no local fight ends up being a local fight anymore. It becomes a global fight like that. And that's what happened with Zarzak, right? Like Zarzak was this capacity for every single player in every single corner of the map to basically be almost at any other point in the map super quickly. And so there wasn't really so when it came to sort of these spots around the exit points, like you couldn't have regional fights anywhere near there, like because they would always spiral into global fights.
Gotcha.
And that was the problem.
Hey, as we look at this, I'm seeing, we've got about 25 minutes left. We've got a lot of video. Do you have have one that you really prefer that we go to? As we go through the last 25 minutes.
We can do these fairly quickly though. Like,
okay.
Because like the one about Quasar, the one about Quasar was like a big thing, but that's because there was a lot of like back end to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go. I think we're talking about cost-based balance is the next kind of one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go. Oh, hold it. Sorry. There we go.
The economics of the old fuel and ISK, basically, or like almost reduced to ISK, isn't enough to balance a system like this. So that's where workforce and those planetary resources come into play, where we can actually play with like, okay, if you want that kind of mobility, you're going to have to cough up a lot of like resources to do so. And we've been testing those things with the Metanoxes, for example, just like tuning a little bit the fuel cost and this and here. So we are taking baby steps, probably frustratingly small baby steps at the moment. Like certainly for me, like I've been hoping to kind of get more traction on this. This has been an ongoing concern for a pretty long time.
So that sounds to me like they're going to increase the cost to project your force.
It's definitely like a cog that they can turn. But Rotati is basically kind of saying that like, tweaking the ability for groups to be able to sort of force project by financial terms wasn't really cutting it, right? And so when Equinox hit, like they basically found a way that that players couldn't use huge reserves of IS to basically, or huge reserves of materials to be able to sort of, not really care about the cost, right? Because it was something that was new. You can only put X amount of, you can only put a jump bridge here to there, and not a whole bunch of jump bridge here, there, and everywhere, because you only have this amount of workforce and you only have this amount of energy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, but they're still a little bit concerned about that, obviously, and so. Rotati is talking about like potentially tweaking things here, there, and everywhere. So,
yeah, here we go on the next one here. I think they talk about some additional ways to solve the problem.
I think when it comes to trying to solve this one,
it's something that we have to take small steps towards. So we're constantly doing that. We're constantly looking at things like who can travel through gates. In the future, maybe types of gates that you can have, different styles, the positions of gates and where they're at, and how that impacts the overall travel time. And so I think you can expect to see some of those changes kind of coming up in the near future as we iterate towards solving this sticky, tangly problem without making it worse for everybody.
Okay, so this is like, when government says, and because the comments in chat have been, hi, I'm from CCP and I'm here to help you. Yeah. Okay.
It's interesting that he said types of gates, right? Like, because that's a new thing. We may have like, before we had the sort of like the changes to sinos, we just had one type of sino, right? And now we have two types of sinos. Mm-hmm. Or no, we had two types of sinos. We now have three. There was sinos, covert sinos that we had previously, and now we have industrial sinos, right? So that then we may end up having an industrial bridge that only allows industrial ships through, right? For example. Mm-hmm. Sorry, not industrial sino. We might have an industrial bridge that allows industrial ships to traverse through rather than combat ships, right? So there's the potential for that. That's probably where they're looking for. That's probably one of the options that they're looking at. But yeah, like as we said previously, like, who can go through bridges, right? As being a potential thing. But obviously there's workarounds. We talked about the workarounds, right? Like having Titans ready to bridge, and even potentially having, deployment, like multiple deployment areas for multiple different groups, right? So yeah, it kind of depends. Like, they clearly have a few ideas on how to solve the problems, but I think, so do we, us, the players. If we want to get shit done, we'll find a fucking way to get shit done. Like, if we need to back up our friends, we'll find ways to back up our friends.
Yeah, I think folks, like Rancheline, right? The old strategy: you create the problem, then you create the solution to the problem. It's like government never solves a problem; they only create a management structure to manage the problem and never make it go away, right? So, I love it. So, all right, we ready for the next one?
Yeah, fuck it, let's go.
The challenge we have with balancing a game like Eve is that Eve is both a simulation and a game, right? And so I think when you're simulating a robust economy like this, part of what you want to do is to preserve that simulation. So if something starts to grow or spike, you need to rely on the fact that there is this robust player-driven economy that can self-balance. However, it's also a game. And at some point you have to look at, like, well, is this actually good or fun or interesting, or is it making people frustrated and driving them away? And so there's this careful balance that we always take as we're seeing these things happen, about not just taking a big swing and a big axe and just like having something or doubling something and saying, like, well, what is the real impact of this and what's the real solution? Because sometimes it's not just changing a number. Sometimes it's taking the time to make more content around that thing. There's something too.
So, as we go through that, right? I mean, so he just described everything we have complained about since the beginning of time in Eve, right? I mean, he just described that when Hilmar says, oh, let's just magically change this, or let's just, have scarcity, or scarcity as some say, right? Or let's have, fucking shit in the game that nobody understands, right? And causes confusion, right? But, I mean, this is what they have historically done. So you're right. As you said, as we were talking earlier, I don't know if the show was on, right? This is the most intelligent individual in the room.
I mean, Starscream kind of said, make this guy the director. Like, you can see why, like, of the three that are there, I'm not trying to minimize like Swift here, but like Swift's basically the host for the show,
Yeah.
right? Like,
right.
but of
Yeah.
the three on the couch, right, that's giving the answers, as it were. Like, he's my favorite. Like, he definitely seems to be more switched on, more kind of.
I didn't like
thoughtful
everything
of,
he
like, the
said.
scenarios. Yeah, there's a few things that he says throughout this that I'm a little bit like, what the fuck? But like, on the whole, he's like my. He definitely seems to be the one that's like a little bit more understanding of like, what our perspective as players like as well.
But understand, every single thing that they have done wrong in a big way, he just summarized why you don't do it right there. Right?
Yeah.
Don't make Rorquals this powerful. We'll just nerf them later. Right? Okay, number one, when you nerf shit, you piss players off. Okay? So don't start there. Right? And when you create massive scarcity, you piss players off. I don't,
Yeah, but the nice thing that he kind of says is there, like, at the end of the day, it's also just a game as well. So like, you have to have that enjoyment there, right? And we talked about this on like the previous episode, where Dawn was talking about, mining, like when we were talking about mining Macoxit, right? And it was just a case of, what's the problem? The problem isn't, we want to be getting absolutely fucking shitloads of material out of, every second. No, it's a case of, the gameplay for nullsec miners for the most part is just, we want to just sit back, chill, socialize, and not have to do the setup and pack up kind of thing constantly every 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We want to park ourselves, mine for like a half hour, 3/4 of an hour while, sipping some fucking drinks and chatting to ourselves, maybe sort of, seeing whether stuff's coming up or down the pipe or, that kind of thing. But like essentially just, having a good social time without having the frustration of having to pack things up and, set things back up in a different location all the fucking time. Like the amount of material is sort of literally immaterial in this situation because, that's not the point. The ultimate point is to have a good time. The ultimate point is to sort of, have an activity, a shared activity where you can socialize and enjoy yourself, right?
Yes.
And in doing so, you make a bit of progress towards an ultimate goal that, like, you all share, right? Building some capitals, for the organization, getting materials and stuff for a new keep style, something of that form. Like, it doesn't have to be. We don't have to make massive percentage gains in that goal, just so long as we get a little bit of progress in that goal. And that's the thing. It's like it's understanding that it's a game as well, right? Yeah. And the experiences that people have while playing that game is also an extremely important thing.
Right. And, Starscream says, he's pulling one way, way out of the past, right? He hasn't heard Devin
like that. Soundwave.
It's Soundwave, right?
Yeah.
Soundwave. Voice of reason on many occasions. I hope I have the right one queued up right now.
Rotati one, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We'll go to that one. About 15 minutes.
Okay.
We are keeping an eye out for mineral prices right now, but we're also looking at the CPI and thinking, okay, there's a discrepancy between those. What does that mean? Reality. Isogens are dropping, morphite is going up. Sure. Is it a short-term, mid-term, long-term thing? We have to see. Is it a real problem? Is it stopping things that people really want to do, like capital construction? So we're sensing this, and we're looking at data every day, not just the MER. And we were debating these and like, is there something missing? Is there a hidden cost? Whatever. So
And looking for those right solutions.
yes, we just not pumping something in just for the sake of it. So we are monitoring 100%, and we're debating it all day long.
They're debating it all day long. Is the MER data even right yet? I mean, Jesus Christ.
I don't think it is. Like, the thing is, and he mentioned CPI. Like, CPI in the MER is fucking pointless. Like, it hasn't moved, and like the basket for the CPI on the MER is just it's just it makes no sense. It has a whole bunch of things that, like, you know, don't have data added to it. So it's like it has a whole bunch of like things that don't exist anymore. It's the equivalent of having like a basket, you know, of a variety of different things, and like 3/4 of the basket are things that don't exist, that are extinct, right? You know what's the price on pterodactyls? Well, we don't know. We haven't had pterodactyls for several fucking million years, but for some reason the basket still has pterodactyls in it for whatever fucking reason. You know, it's absurd. It's this absurdity with, like, you know, oh, well, we're looking at the CPI. Well, what does the CPI consist of? Oh, it consists of this stuff. Okay, well, is there any data coming in about this stuff? You know, like, that's the depth that you just need to sort of go in order for them to maybe realize that, like, oh, maybe there's things in these metrics that aren't, like, you know, showing us the data that we need to be seen, that we need to see. But like, Rotati is just being Rotati, I guess. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
I'm trying to think if I have the right one queued up or not. I'm just like, because I was. Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah, I think you're on the right one.
You think I'm on the right one? Well, I don't know if I actually did that one right, but you know what? We're gonna play it, and if it's the same thing, then I'll fix it. We'll fix it.
Yep. I'll just go with whichever one you play.
Our takeaway was there's a lot of space that's like considered unusable or trash space or whatever. We're gonna want to give like that space a bit of a second life. Like, what can you do with that? True sec or like security and how it impacts the value of systems is something that we were all about. I think there can be very interesting things about like what you do and how you maintain control your own soft space. So kind of like defensibility, usability of that. So there's like, I would think of it as a batch of really good upgrades for Equinox Soft and some trade-offs, because I think the consensus was, okay, it's a really good system, hypothetically, but we really just have one best choice for every system. So
I'm not sure.
So I'm glad that Rotati is actually sort of, you know, realized that there are systems in the Equinox system that, like, there are physical, literal sort of systems in various different regions that are considered to be completely unusable or trash, right?
Right.
And it's nice to hear them, to hear from CCP that they understand and they realize that that is an issue and that they want to address it. So fantastic.
All right. Let's see where we're going. Okay, we got 9 minutes.
Should we go to this one?
You want to go to Akami, or you want to go to Burger and Rotati?
Rotati and Akami.
Core prob.
Like this one.
You want to go that one? All right. Let me pull that one up.
The core projects are like an idea, but not really like amazing.
It was a whole minute long. I was like, holy shit, how long do we need a minute on all that shit? You know? Alrighty. Let's bring it up.
I think the Metanoxes were a great, and the mercenary dance. Like, these are, you can do some damage just like with a tiny fleet.
Yeah.
or at least die trying. And I think we were missing that. We didn't have anything really to kind of tackle. And I think we had heard a lot of like, but I can't defend all these things. Well, sometimes like just don't build. You're just gonna accept that you're gonna get bitten by mosquitoes, and you're not gonna be able to just like never have mosquitoes. Like you're gonna have them, and I think that's fine because these investments are making money in the long term for sure. Skyhooks and Mercdens and Metanoxes are for sure like making more money than they're losing. Based on
and I mean like part of that's the way we balance these things in terms of cost, right? Like
Here's what I think he's missing.
Hmm?
In Eve, we can have swarm after swarm after swarm of mosquitoes, and it's not just a occasional thing. We can really make it such a pest if they make that too easy. That makes sense?
Yeah. When it becomes a clear case that because we experienced it with the first version of Aegis of Fuzzysoft, like
Right.
it was heavily biased towards the aggressor, right? And so people realized, oh yeah, you can just fuck with people's space super easily, right? And it's a real fucking ball ache for people to kind of try and defend against it, right? So you know, people just went to town, just attacking all sorts of shit. Like, you know, yeah, if you bias the mechanics of something to a you know, too far one particular way, then yeah, players are gonna fucking jump on that and fucking, you know, cause all sorts of havoc, right? And yeah, like the interesting thing on this particular clip is we saw a bit of like internal statistics that they put up on the screen, which was kind of cool. But yeah, it's interesting. I found it interesting that Rosati was talking about player agency, like earlier, right? About how like, you know, allowing players to customize their space to their likings and all that kind of stuff. But now they're talking about like, you know, how, you know, we wouldn't have agency because, you know, it's the interesting thing was he was talking about mercenary dens, right? And he almost said sort of like, you know, how many mercenary dens, you know, you build in your space. But, you know, he kind of stopped himself because I think he realized just before he said that, you know, you don't need to be the owner of the space to be able to drop a mercenary den. You can do it offensively. So, you know, so he realized that like, you know, that's not a player agency thing. That's actually, you know, that can work against player agency.
Absolutely. So we've got about 5 minutes. What do you want to do next?
I mean, there's a clip there with Akami saying that the economy is really healthy, which it really isn't, which is a weird one. But like, that's a really short one. We don't really need to go with that. Like, if we go with the how CCP prioritizes feedback from the community,
okay,
that'd be kind of cool because I think like that's people need to know about that. Like,
do we believe him? I said, do we believe him? All right, here we go.
A lot of just social commentary. CSM is probably like the strongest filter for these ideas. But our favorite, aside from those, are just well-articulated things on social media and these kind of manifestos. When communities come together, is basically like, if you all agreed enough to do this list, it's probably worth taking a look at. And this has been great because we can't play test or kind of foresee every single thing or aspect of a thing, because we just need all the experts to come together and say like, okay, is this good or bad? We kind of had this conversation with CSM 18 or even before about force projection. Like, don't we all kind of agree that this is a problem?
All right. So supposedly they're listening to people.
Yeah. But the kind of the point is they're not just listening to sort of individuals or just like individual groups. Like they much prefer if those the feedback that they get is feedback that is agreed upon by like a larger majority or sort of majority of the community kind of thing. You know, when we have these scenarios where, say for example, you know, we have an open letter and it's signed by, you know, multiple large groups in, you know, nullsec, for example. You know, so it's like it ends up being cross-partisan. You know, it's like, you know, both Goonsform and Pandemic Horde, you know, see this as an issue. It is one of the sort of things that, like, you know, would attract more attention by CCP than just if it was, you know, just Goonswarm or just Imperium basically saying this is an issue.
Yeah, and we just dropped into an ad. So.
Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to sort of giving CCP sort of feedback, you know, they prefer to have it be kind of cross-partisan stuff. You know, have the support for feedback be, you know, large enough that it's seen as a big problem rather than just a very niche problem. So if you have issue with the game, you know, do a bit of work, you know, do a bit of networking, you know, get some conversations going on with groups from all sorts of different areas of space, of different political kind of affiliations, you know, in-game political affiliations, you know, and get that kind of cross-partisan sort of support for it. And then CCP are more likely to take your feedback more seriously. I was going to say genuinely, but like, you know, more seriously would be the best way of describing that. Yes. Other than that, like I could just kind of praise you a little bit. Like Akami kind of basically essentially sort of says that they sometimes they prefer having problems described to them rather than just solutions. So instead of basically saying, I've got a great way of being able to solve this issue, you know, you should do, I don't know, comment mining, et cetera, that'd be fantastic. This is how this is how I would envisage comment mining, et cetera. And it's like, well, that's great, you know, but you know, you've glossed over the problem, right? That comment mining is meant to sort of fix, right? So there's definitely times where CCP prefers to have the problem described to them better, and why the problem is a problem that should be considered by CCP, and you know how big the problem is, right? Because then CCP can work on different types of solutions, right? Rather than just you know taking on board one solution, right? So there is that. And then the last kind of little thing was essentially the stuff that's coming in February, which is just essentially there's going to be more dev blogs and streams about like services, ESI stuff, which is you know music to our ears, you know, especially nullsec groups, because you know we love our services and we love our like third party tools and stuff, right?
We do.
There's gonna be more stuff about Quasar, so you know. Having a bit of a crash course in Quasar here was probably a good idea, but like, you know, you're going to see a few more things about that. And in actual fact, there was a mass test, which I was going to take the piss of because like it was a chat mass test, which was the weirdest thing that you could kind of say as a mass test. But apparently it was testing out some like background behind the scenes Quasar stuff. So,
okay.
You know.
Yeah, that sounds pretty nice. About 40 seconds, we'll be back from the ad break.
Okay. We can jump into the roadmaps because that's
is that
thing.
Should which one is that? Hold on, let me look here. That one,
it's just
okay.
It's just that one. Yeah.
Let's pull that one up.
So,
Oh, that's
So-
just an image. It's not a video, huh?
It's just an image. It's just an image. All right.
Hey, I gotta shrink it down because the last image I made Gigunda.
Oh yes.
There we go. That'd be good. That'd be good. All right, let's transition over to that and talk through that. Here we go. Alrighty.
So brace yourself. This is CCP's roadmap for 2025.
Okay, they are aware that we're halfway through the first quarter, right? Just checking.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know because for a
Well,
good period of
through.
for a good period of days in January, they still thought it was 2024. At least in the patch notes, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Woo! Roadmap.
This,
by the way, this looks nothing like any roadmap I've ever seen. But go ahead. All right.
Right. And as Nate said in chat, roadmap, quote unquote, right? Because it's it doesn't really say anything. It's oh, okay, so we get an update for Revenant in 2025 in the first quarter. No idea as to what is being updated in Revenant whatsoever. And then we have a summer expansion at around the summer point.
No, you don't.
Which is kind of obvious-ish.
Is it?
I
or
guess,
are we in
Q3?
Are we in the throes of spring? I'm not sure.
I guess that might be spring. That now that's the other kind of thing. Maybe if it's late Q2, just bordering Q3, then maybe it might end up being better to be at the bottom.
June is
the
at
Q2
the
bit.
end. Yeah, June is at the end of 2Q. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Okay.
I don't know, but either way, apparently there's a summer expansion in Q2.
Dude,
we've got FanFest,
and
we have Capsuleer Day. but no indication as to what's going on in those at all. There's no information this.
I have a question. We also have a summer expansion update in 3Q.
Update. Yeah, at the in summer.
So they already know the shit that we fuck up in 2Q in the summer expansion, we'll fix it in 3Q. I'm just saying. How it reads to me.
I mean, at least they've scheduled updates for the summer expansion, so that's nice. But obviously we're getting the Alliance tournament feeders. And then in Q4 we're getting the winter expansion and the Alliance tournament, and then we're getting Crimson Harvest because Crimson Harvest always happens at a particular time, and then the Winter Nexus, in winter.
What? Yeah, I love how they put these expansions at the top, but technically, in those quarters, summer and winter happen at the end of the quarter. Okay, all right.
But it's the thing is, if you've seen roadmaps from other games,
yeah,
roadmaps include information.
I know.
They include things that you look forward to, that you're oh, cool, we're going to get this, or we're going to get that, or oh, cool, there's going to be these new things, or there's going to be an update to this mechanic or that mechanic. There's nothing here. There's literally nothing here. You could write this without even knowing, Eve as such. Oh, okay, so they have an expansion here. They have a summer and a winter expansion. Okay, they have an Alliance tournament in the winter, but they also have feeders a little later than that. They have events that happen, strangely during Easter, and also in sort of around about Halloween time, as well as in Christmas. None of that actually gives you any indication as to actually cool things that are being added to the game that would be interested in. This isn't a roadmap. This is just basically bullshit.
Well, no. It's just an event announcement. Some events we might be doing, right? That's this is like saying, hey, please come sign up for this dinner event that we're having, but we're not going to tell you what we're serving or if you would even like it.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
so-
I could have made this, not with the cool graphics,
Exactly.
because my graphics capabilities suck. Do not have Eric make a PowerPoint for you, because it will look like shit. But it might have information in it.
And so if you just want to pull up the 2026 roadmap leak as well, like the one just under it, the IMGA link.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, that one.
Let's transition out so I can hide the magic that we're doing. Oh, hold it. Well, that's teeny tiny. I got to make that good.
Yeah, you may have to move that up a little bigger.
What the hell? You got ads and shit on this? Holy hell! I gotta be a little creative, folks. Hold on. There's like an ad. There's like an ad in the middle of this. Okay, Okay, this. Okay, I think we can work with this. Here we go. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, now let's talk through this one. This one's good. This one looks good. These look like SEMA graphics.
Well, that's because it is. It's because it's because Reddit. This is a creation from Reddit.
Okay, let's go. Let's walk through.
Well,
hold it. We got an ad. We got an Imgur ad coming in here. Let's skip the ad. Okay, it's out of there. All right, we're good.
So yeah, this is the 2026 roadmap.
Okay.
Probably about as probably very fucking accurate, in actual fact. Like I would be surprised if the actual legitimate 2026 roadmap from CCP wasn't almost exactly like this, but with slightly different visuals and no additional information. Like
gotcha. That's beautiful. This right here brings a tear to my eye.
So yeah,
I gotta wipe it away. Okay. All right.
Yeah. CCP, do a bit of research as to what roadmaps are meant to be before actually releasing roadmaps. That would be my suggestion.
That's right. And then you just put in the corner a little safe harbor statement. We don't promise, but this is our plan. That's what you do with the roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a guarantee for features being said in here that are actually going to get to release. But this is just our plan.
All right.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did post the link in there for the survey a little earlier. Again, for those who came late, we're trying to do a survey, see if the show's the way you want it and what you might want to see changed. And the mention, right? This is our last show for a while, right? Right, McLeod?
Yep.
So do we?
Yeah. So we're essentially kind of we need to remake the show in various different ways. Probably not the look of the show, but like definitely the sort of like the style, or just the sort of like the style, format, kind of thing like that. Just to it needs to be easier for us as content creators to sort of create, and easier for guests and more regulars to be more regular on the show. Let's put it that way. And for that to happen, we need to kind of mix some things up. And so we need to kind of put our thinking caps on for a little while and, figure out how to do that. Right. And as we said, at the start of the show, one of the things that's going to really help us do that, and do that to the best, for it to be better for you guys as well, is to know what you guys are thinking regarding whether the show is, hitting the mark or not, right? And if you could, could you go? There's a link to the survey. It's a very short survey. It's like 10 yes/no questions. I think there's more 9 yes/no-ish kind of questions. One sort of like, would you rather this or that? Basically, super fast. And it also has a link to our Discord server as well. So if you want to kind of get a little bit more involved in that and have conversations there, have at it. But we'd really like your feedback.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
I don't think we have time for one more thing. I think we're kind of done.
Yeah, I think we are. But yeah, so I'm not sure when we'll be back, but we will be back eventually. And when we have a solid plan as to what we're doing, and when we know we're going to be back, we'll make sure that we, shout it from the hills and, make sure to shout it often and loud and, with a good amount of time for you guys to notice.
Alrighty. All right. Thanks, Cloud, for all your work today and setting everything up. Really appreciate it. And thank you to the audience. Have a good day, and everybody have a wonderful weekend. What's left of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're out of here.
See ya.
Yeah. Oh, hold it. Because the way I got set up, I got to transition the end.
Uh-huh.